Hi, my name is Sean Bouquet. I'm a violinist in the Detroit area and around the state of Michigan. I play acoustic and electric, but mainly electric violin at weddings. And this is a video that I didn't think I was going to make, but I've seen a lot of weird comments around on social media, so I figured I would just make a video and talk about if WeddingWire and TheKnot are scams. Now, they're actually kind of the same company now, and I'll talk about that later, but the too long didn't watch version of that is no, they're not. And what I'm going to go through is my story, how I've used them. Now, I'm not getting paid by them. If anything, I've given them quite a bit of money. But I'm going to go through what my story is. I'm going to go through what other people have said, actually going through their own posts on social media, and maybe what they could do to turn things around. So I'll put chapters and links below so you can jump to whatever content you are interested in. But come along for the ride, and first let me tell you about how I got to what I'm doing today. Now, if you don't know, WeddingWire and TheKnot are companies that you can pay to advertise on. You can make a free account, but you don't get any photos or anything else until you pay for it. So a standard advertising company that you might see around. I mean, it's even like a sales site where you pay to put items for sale. So I started playing violin around the late 90s, 97, 98, I can't remember anymore. And by the end of high school, I was playing some weddings. I got a degree in music education, and about 5 years after that, so this is around 2014, I wanted to do more in the wedding scene. I like playing weddings, and I was already getting quite a bit of traffic on my own website. If you Googled Detroit violinist around that time, SeanBouquet.com was pretty high on the list, and above even the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. But for booking weddings, I was still booking just a few each year. So I looked around, and WeddingWire and TheKnot both seemed like the best options, and I went with WeddingWire. Now, the rates for what I paid then, they vary depending on what your service is. So if it's a bigger service, let's say a venue or a caterer, often they might charge more than just a ceremony musician, and the rates have definitely changed in the past 8 years. So it looked like about per month, I think it was around $60 to $65 a month to advertise. And I was charging about $150 per event at the time. And so I figured if I gained around 3 to 4 weddings, it would pretty much pay itself off. And so my hope was that I had a year to try to get 3 more gigs. If I got less than that, okay, it was experiment. I tried, tax write-off for a business expense. And if I gain more, great. So around 2014, I started my account, and within 2 weeks, I booked 3 clients, 3 couples, and it practically paid for itself within 2 weeks. So after that, about a year later, I started booking with TheKnot as well, and I'm advertising on there. I'm paying for a higher tier at WeddingWire, and now today, I'm using both of them, paying quite a bit more than I did before, but I'm also charging a bit more, and I'm booking quite a lot. So I'm booking more than I can even take in. I'm turning away more couples than I can book. So for example, June 11th this year is one that I booked a couple years back, but I received probably around a dozen different couples asking for the exact same date. So the only times I'm really not booking is when I'm already booked. In the past 8 years, I could probably count 2 or 3 people that I've talked to and not booked. Almost everyone has booked if I'm available. So I'm going to read actual messages that people posted on Facebook. One that I actually found kind of silly before I go into things that people said. One person covered his entire WeddingWire page in images that said, "Don't use WeddingWire." The images, though, were square, and they cropped them all so they weren't square. And instead of saying, "Don't use WeddingWire," what everyone saw was, "Use WeddingWire." So that whole thing of "don't use WeddingWire" just made it look like he was advertising for the company. I'm going to go over a larger idea of what I think's going on, but I'll probably comment a little bit to some of these. Someone else said, "Hi, my business unfortunately got sucked into this scam as well, and I've been doing research on how to get out of it." So the person sent an email saying that they're taking a break from their business, which doesn't seem to actually be the case. This email was sent in August, and they started advertising around April. So it's only been about 4 months with WeddingWire. But of course, they're under contract for about a year, and so they're not just going to throw away their contract. Someone else says, "I, this week, signed up for TheKnot and WeddingWire. The next day, I started seeing that it was a scam. I'm also broke and definitely shouldn't have spent the money, but I'm impulsive. The person admits they didn't have the money to pay for it before, but they already did. So that's not really WeddingWire or TheKnot's fault. Someone else says, I am so frustrated. Received this lead days ago from WeddingWire and have been in discussion with this potential client since. Today we finally get to the stage of sending over a proposal via Honeybook, and this is what he sends me. So claiming that the person they're talking to is scamming them. That doesn't seem to be WeddingWire or TheKnot, that's just someone else trying to scam you. Another person said, can I get out? 12-month subscription at $350 a month. I'm 2 weeks in. It's been 2 weeks, so I feel like people are just paying for things, getting into a contract, and then panicking. Someone says, it's like they don't even try to pretend it's not a scam. And it's a picture of someone else trying to scam them, not WeddingWire or TheKnot specifically. Someone else puts, looking for some advice. I've been on TheKnot very shortly, just a little over a month, and now just finding out that I'm in fact under contract. I don't really get how that works because even when you sign up for a website, there's terms and conditions. But if you're paying for something, you had to type in a credit card number. So I'm not quite sure how that even works. Someone does put, not to be the odd man out, but what exactly does TheKnot and WeddingWire do that's so bad? So one person comments, for those of us who weren't able to get business, we had to keep paying. That's how advertising works. You sign up for a certain time. New York City is too big. There are too many photographers. They cannot give you what they offered, so they create fake leads and tell you, hey, it's not our fault you didn't book. So this person is actually claiming that WeddingWire or TheKnot are making fake leads and contacting people with them, which doesn't really seem to make sense. I've seen fake leads with a lot of other sale websites. So looking at all of those, it seems like a lot of people are just upset because they're not getting as many leads as they thought they would. It doesn't really seem like something specific WeddingWire or TheKnot are doing. Now, I was really lucky and I was getting leads right away. However, I'll go into a second why I think that is. This sort of thing takes time and you need to build up that reputation. So first I'm going to go into why it worked for me and then what I think other people should do if you are starting out and want to maybe advertise on there to make it work for you. So why did it work for me? Well, even to this day, I am one of the only, if not the only violinist in the entire state of Michigan that is on WeddingWire or TheKnot. Or at least someone that has a paid account. It might go further, might be the entire Midwest, however, it's hard to look at all those different categories. At least for a long while, I was the only solo violinist, if not the only solo bowed string instrument. Now, the reason why that is because most people that do what I do, it's part-time. So paying $60 or $200 or $300 a month seems like a lot to actually pay for something that's just a small part-time thing. So because I did pay that, I was one of the only people to do so, and it helped, it paid off. Now, because I also did that so early, there are some people that have joined in, and I know a couple people, friends of mine, who started advertising on there. However, they will have 2 or 3 reviews, and I have around 150 5-star reviews. So if you're a couple looking for a violinist and you see 2 people like that, there's a more obvious option at least to reach out to first. For some time I also DJ'd. I actually quit DJing because it got too big and I didn't want to build a company and hire staff, so I downsized. But I was the only DJ that was really able to advertise in the ceremony category. So I kind of just found that nice little pocket that worked. Another thing that really helped is I already had some reviews when I joined in. So I wasn't a brand new company. I had done quite a few weddings before then, and I reached out to all of those couples and I asked them if they wouldn't mind posting reviews on those sites, and some of them did. So immediately I had some reviews. It didn't take me getting a wedding and then booking them and then having them post reviews later on to show that I'm a legitimate person who does this sort of thing often. So the reason it worked for me is because it seemed more of like the right place, right time, and the right category. For those that are starting out now, there's a lot of photographers out there. There's a lot of venues, there's a lot of DJs, and honestly, it's hard to tell them apart sometimes. I'm sure if you're a photographer watching this, you know that there's a huge difference between photographers, whether they have different styles, different cameras, different approaches to how they shoot weddings. However, to a couple that doesn't know anything about photography, it can look very similar. So if you're advertising on WeddingWire or TheKnot and there's 50 other photographers, a lot of times they're just going to be looking at prices. So you need to first check if it's something that you think you can get into. If it's something that if you're starting out, is this something that you can join in and start advertising and actually get hits more than other people? It's not always the case right away. So besides putting reviews, like I said, make your profile stand out. There was someone on, I believe, that same group that asked for people to look over their account to see what they could do to make it work better for them. And I checked it out, and they had like 2 photos on their profile, and it was the most basic layout. There was nothing that made me look at that and say, this person's different, I want to talk to this person. Pretty much everyone I book, I meet with. I used to meet in person, but now everything's over Zoom, and I have so many meetings that I'll do just for free, just to meet with people. So have those free meetings, talk with them. Even if someone is just kind of interested, immediately say, okay, great. I would love to set up a meeting over Zoom so we can talk and I can show you some samples of mine directly instead of just chatting over email. There are scams on every site. If I'm selling something on a site, I will get scams from a bunch of people. It happens a lot on Facebook. It's not Facebook's fault initially. If they don't do anything after I report them, that's different. But yeah, there's always going to be those scams. It's not the companies that are doing it. They wouldn't want people to think that their company's all just scam bots. So you have to let that go of thinking that that's the issue. It's just a rough market for a lot of people who do certain things like DJing. What makes you as a DJ different from other DJs? I've kind of propped up WeddingWire and TheKnot, but there are things that I'm not a big fan of. I mean, one thing that happened on WeddingWire was they used to have a portal where when you booked a client, there was an online contract signing they could do. There was a questionnaire that looked very sleek and integrated. Everyone would get their own little web portal that they could log into, and it was fantastic. And then one day, maybe about 4 years ago, they said, yeah, we're just going to stop that. They said they were going to just stop it and make sure you print out all your documents and contact the couple saying we're no longer using it. Well, this was rough for me because I loved using it. It made it so easy. And when I asked them about it, I first asked, well, am I going to get any refund? They said no. Like, yeah, we're not considering any refunds. We're considered the portal is just a little bonus thing we gave you, but it wasn't actually part of your advertising. So then I asked, what company did you go through so I can go through them too? And they said, no, we did it in-house, so there's no one to really go to. So that was a bummer. I feel like I lost part of what I paid for, and they didn't consider me paying for that. To this day, I now use just Dropbox folders and send out actual PDFs instead of using another company. There are other companies that do that sort of thing, but I didn't find one I liked right away, and this has been working ever since. The other thing I'm not a big fan of is WeddingWire and TheKnot are the same company now. I believe WeddingWire bought TheKnot. I don't know which way it went, but they're the same company, and I still feel like I'm paying for 2 different services. Now I get it, you bought another company to profit more with 2 different companies, but it should feel like there's some benefit of applying to both instead of just one. And maybe there is, and I've just missed it, but when they initially joined, yeah, I was just paying for 2 companies that were actually the same company. And TheKnot used to send out plaques for free whenever you got Best of Weddings or the Couple's Choice Award. Now they don't. You have to pay for that separately, which seems like a small little expense that they could do to just make it feel nicer to be part of that company. So that's about it. Do I think WeddingWire and TheKnot are scams? Not at all. Do I think people jump into those things not realizing what they're getting into? Definitely. Do companies kind of push people and coerce them to try to do those things? Yeah, that's kind of what their business model is. It's like eBay trying to convince people it's a great thing to sell your stuff on there, even with all the different fees. And some people take that risk and they're like, yeah, but it's worth it in the end. Some people are like, no, I'm going to lose more money than I'm going to make. But I'm really grateful for advertising on those companies. I have benefited greatly from it, and I love doing what I do. So advertising on there allows me to keep doing what I enjoy. And to me, it's just part of the normal day. I need to advertise somehow. I'm not going to get everything just from word of mouth and on my own website. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, of course, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll probably have more videos based on just me playing and not me ranting about a website. But if you have anything you want me to talk about, let me know. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, of course. And thank you very much for watching.